Welcome back to Star Spangled Gamblers. I'm your host, Keen Dog. This is your OG political betting podcast. I'm coming to you right now from, if you're watching on video, you can tell this isn't the usual room. This is Torrey Pines, which I think is somewhere near San Diego. Anyway, it's lovely here and a little bit cloudy, but it's even lovelier with the boys. You want to holler? Where you at, Pratik?
I'm still in Washington.
The answer is always the same. I haven't heard you barking yet. Where are you, Zoltar?
What up? Sad day. Just got murdered by the Lagoa market. And the predicted users were their usual cruel selves in response to my failed pick.
I think we actually got a tweet from, it was like a first-time fan writing in. He was like, yo, is like Zoltar okay? Because you did just, like, I know you got kids and shit, so I don't know if you were just busy with your family, but you went dark, like dark. Like,
first of all, everyone was celebrating before it was official, and the savage sell at 90 rules there for a reason, because every once in a while that 10% kicks in. And
we're talking about the Supreme Court pick right now, for those of you who are first-time listeners.
Right.
Zoltar went heavy on Barbara Lagoa.
Right, and I was hoping that 10% would kick in on the other end, so I wasn't going to mourn my loss until it was officially a loss, and I was praying for a miracle. That miracle did not happen.
Pray for rain. I'm here. So I'm in San Diego right now, Zoltar. Have you guys seen the movie Casablanca? Speaking of people praying for miracles.
No, I have not seen that.
You haven't seen Casablanca? Have you seen Casablanca?
No.
God damn it.
We're not.
This place is like Casablanca. It's like full of California Republicans, and everyone's just like, when are you? Like, I'm trying to get to Florida. I'm trying to get to Texas. Like, when are you leaving? Can you get me? It's like a refugee camp of like rich white people trying to leave California.
What are you doing up there?
You just cranking some Modelo's, dude. That's what I'm doing up here. Down here, I should say.
So, if we may, I'd like to go through an autopsy on what went wrong.
So, wait, Zoltar, as the general of the Zoltarmy, though, knowing that you ordered your troops into battle where they just got slaughtered, do you want to like issue any type of statement to your followers, like an apology?
I am going to redeem myself. I did find a market that I consider pseudo cracked. That's it's an underdog market, and
we'll save that for later.
As a road to redemption, I am willing to go down with a Carolina Reaper challenge on this next pick. That's how confident I am.
Okay. So I mean, Zoltar, you are like, I feel like it's a classic alpha move to never apologize. You know, like a real alpha doesn't say I'm sorry. He just like, punches harder the next time. This
was a shot bet. We're betting on what Trump would pick out of a bunch of qualified candidates. So no one knows the answer to that. I took an educated bet. I'm happy with the logic and research I did behind that bet. I'm not happy with the way I reacted as more info started coming in. I'd like to talk about that.
Well, let's dwell on that for a second, because like you are the general of the Zoltarmy, and the Zoltarmy is like a potent betting force. Now, yes. I'm the president of Star Spangled Gamblers, and I feel like I made a major mistake here, because Pratik and I recorded a podcast like 5 seconds after RBG was announced to be dead, and did not provide any additional information for the rest of the week. And it was pretty clear by midweek that like Trump had just had Coney Barrett in the back, in his coat pocket for the last 4 years. But did we provide the boys any information? No, we just sat here lazy, and now we're dealing with, now we're saying Zoltar.
When did I drop my article? That was like Thursday, right? Something like that.
I think it was like Tuesday or Wednesday.
Yeah, so I did it. I did early. Yeah, when I did it, I had the pick when she was at like 30 cents, and then by the time I finished the article, she was up to 50, and then it just went downhill fast from there. But at the time, here's a question for you guys though, and I was thinking about this during the week. When I make a pick and new info comes out that changes the pick, should I update it, or should I just let it sit where it is? Like once the pick is there, is it just there forever, or am I allowed to update it?
I mean, that's the torture of betting on politics and writing about it, right? Yeah. Like,
well, I tried to ride or die on this one, and it did not end up well. And I think like I said, the logic I used, I still to this day think politically it made the most sense to pick Lagoa as the Supreme Court pick. And I thought that was what Trump was going to do. But like I said, it was his choice. There's no way to know the answer. It's not like what I would consider a cracked market where the only way you lose is if the predicted intern gives you a roll cuck ruling. This was like, you're taking a shot on what you think Trump will guess. I did what I think was politically best for him. I still to this day think it was politically best for him to pick Lagoa, and he ended up going with Barrett.
This was a classic Zoltar pick, though. It's a classic Zoltar pick.
What do you mean?
I feel like the reason why you're exciting is that you do not bet the trend. And I feel like a classic Zoltar pick is talking yourself into a reason why the trend is going to ultimately fail. And like, that's why you crush when you crush. But like, I was sitting there thinking when the information was coming out, like Trump having his 15th meeting with Amy Coney Barrett, I'm like, this is feeling like a classic Zoltar pick going the wrong way, just clutching that hand grenade until the very end.
That is what I'm mad at that is what I think my mistake was, is as the new info came in, I didn't switch my opinion. I didn't want to get double lost on the market, so I just stayed where I was. But looking back, there were some red flags that I think made it quite clear it was going to be Barrett early on in the week. The first one, like you said before, is he met with her twice at the White House, and then he canceled his meeting with Lagoa. Once he canceled his meeting with Lagoa, that should have been enough. You had 2 meetings with Barrett, then you canceled your one with Lagoa. There's no way he's going to give it to Lagoa at that point. But the reason I held on at the time is I thought, well, the way the press secretary answered the question is they do those meetings in D.C., so maybe she's going to do a meeting in D.C. Let's kind of holding on to that. Okay, maybe then you still got a shot. But then the night before, I think it was Friday night, Ingram Angle on Fox News had like a couple of Barrett's coworkers and friends talk about how awesome she was. Clearly at that point, if Fox News is promoting Barrett before the announcement, it's going to be Barrett. At that point, I should have bailed. I think it was at like 20 cents at that point. So I could have almost cut my losses in half then. But I just kept thinking, it's weird that Trump won't, because he was asked specifically, are you going to meet with Lagoa? And he said, oh, I don't want to discuss that. I said, well, that's odd. Why not just say no if you're not going to meet with her? Like, what's his move here? In retrospect, he just didn't, he wanted to keep the drama up. He didn't want people to figure it out. It'd be too obvious if he said, I'm not meeting with Lagoa.
It gets to the drama of betting on Donald Trump, which is like, there's always a belief cooked into the prices in the market that he's going to do something completely unpredictable, that he has for example, traders think it's like a 60-40 that he'll win this election, and there's no evidence to support that.
Well, and I thought that, there's always a chance he's doing a head fake and he's trying to get the media to report one thing, and then he'll surprise everyone with something else and get even bigger headlines.
Yeah.
But, Zoltar rule number 88 is look at what people do, not what they say. Look at their actions, not their words. And on this one, his actions, rule number 1 is don't sell at 90. But, rule number 1 is always trust in Zoltar. But on this one, he said,
gonna have to rebuild
he met with her
trust,
twice.
buddy.
All right, I'm going to earn it back. So he said he met with her twice. That's his actions. He canceled his meeting with Lagoa. That's his actions. He had a Fox News fluff piece locked and loaded. That's his actions. When all those happened, I should have bailed. I should have done a Zoltar Army announcement. Get out while you can. Save yourselves, women and children first. But I didn't. Instead, I bought some at 5 cents just out of spite and added a little
into
bit more
the valley of death. Rode the 600. Pratik, there's like a sort of like Spocky conversation embedded in this, which is, what is like, I just never know what the smart thing to do is when it's like, do you want to flip sides on trades when evidence, because then sometimes you can wind up losing double your money if you're really.
Flip, or do you just walk away? Do you just fold at that point? What's the move there, Pratik?
Well, I mean, I can tell you what I did on this. When Alex and I recorded the podcast, I was skeptical on Barrett. I bought a bunch of no's. Now, I was completely shocked when that evening Trump in North Carolina just announced straight up that it would be a woman. I wasn't surprised that he ultimately picked a woman, but I didn't understand why he would just lay it out there and not even sort of audition or vet other people on his list. But after he did that, the price on Coney Barrett just shot up. And so I continued buying no's. I think I got her as low as like 37, 38 no's. Again, not because at that point, I didn't think she'd be a serious contender, but I knew there would be at least one pump of some other candidate who it turned out to be Lagoa. So I ended up on Sunday just offloading the Coney Barrett shares for a profit when the Lagoa spike happened. And at that point, I stayed out of the market. I mean, I think that I don't know if there's a hard rule on when you double down and when you sell, but to me, the fact that he immediately said it would be a woman, there were only two women, presumably, who were under consideration. And like, I would say by Monday evening, it was just too risky of a market to be pouring money into. And so I probably just would have cut my losses out of a risk-averse strategy.
Okay, well, so this is the part in the podcast where I always say the point of this podcast is to talk about the future. So like now we have a nominee. We have an idea. By the way, like I thought that there'd be a lot of skepticism and restraint in Senate Republicans about doing this. I was pretty wrong. Like literally could not have been more wrong about that. And now I feel like we're lining up in a situation where the money seems to think that this is going to happen really quick, like before the election quick. So,
that's gonna be my Zoltar pick this week. I think that they're definitely going to do the vote before November 3rd. And there's articles out now saying that it's scheduled to start, I think, October 15th, and it's going to be about 4 days. So if that happens, they should beat the November 3rd deadline by at least a couple of weeks.
Wait, can I hit you with a metaphor about this?
Of course.
Zoltar, what's your favorite sport?
Professional wrestling.
Really? I thought you were going to say football. I thought you'd be like a big NFL guy.
Second to football. Well, I thought you were going to get into an argument about pro wrestling's not really a sport.
Oh, no. Pro wrestling's a way of life.
By the way, Animal from Legion of, or from Road Warriors died this week. Rest in peace.
I don't know who that is, but I can see the sadness on your face. Okay. Do you I feel like the Supreme Court pick, which again, I will say I read completely wrong from the beginning, is now you're watching. It's like there's 2 minutes left in the playoff game, or I'm thinking about that national championship between Reggie Bush and Vince Young, USC and Texas. And the team who has the ball last is going to win the game. And you're watching your team on defense and you're like, just let him in, just let him into the end zone, just let him into the end zone. And I sort of think that that's the way this is going to work for this Supreme Court pick is the Dems they're like on defense. They're backed up against their end zone. Like they haven't been able to stop the Republicans appointing nominees for 4 years. Like everything is working against them. This election is coming up and they're going to be like, what are we going to do? Are we going to like kneecap this woman because she has biracial kids and is like, everyone likes her and she's practices a religion that like is she's just, how do you beat this woman? You don't. So I think they're just going to let her in. I think they're just going to let her into the end zone so they can get the ball back and go back to hammering Trump on like coronavirus and every other stupid thing he's done in 4 years.
The two attacks I've seen so far are one, her accepting the nomination under these circumstances shows she has poor judgment that's unfit for office. I don't even understand that argument. And then
that's a real brain bender.
Yeah, the other one is they're going to go after Affordable Care Act, which is a campaign issue. So I think that one actually they're going to, basically use it as a talking point. Joe Biden's Affordable Care Act, Trump wants no one to get health care. This lady getting nominated is going to ruin the Affordable Care Act.
Yeah, they're just going to let her into the end zone.
So those are I don't think they're going to go hard on her being Catholic or a mom of 7 kids or, crazy Christian, that type of stuff.
So before I give you my take, and I think I have a contrary take here, I guess looking back and one question I still have, there were press reports, which I think are correct, that McConnell weighed in with Trump preferring Barrett to Lagoa. Do you guys have a view on why he did that? Because it seems to me that Lagoa would have been a much easier and less politically costly.
Yeah, did you agree with my argument that she was a better political pick?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I thought that was a no-brainer.
But what do you think the logic is coming from McConnell?
I think you've heard me say on our last judiciary podcast that I don't really understand the inner workings of the judicial appointment system. So, take what I say with a grain of salt. But I guess it's like both of the candidates have obviously been vetted for them to be. Yeah, but I think she's
more personally tied to the DC area. So they knew more about her, whereas Lagoa, at least for McConnell and some of those senators, that she was just, a Florida judge that they don't really know that well.
I totally buy that, by the way.
They trusted Barrett more because they knew her personally and vetted her before and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I would assume that the decision was based on what can we do quicker? What's the fastest we can move? Why? I don't know.
And then what's the least risk of getting, a wacky judge like Roberts?
Yeah. So, PJ, are you still holding no's on her making it through before the election?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, I think that right now it looks like Barrett's going to go in, and I think from here there are only things that could complicate that. I mean, there isn't going to be anything that makes it look easier. Now, I don't think there's going to be dirt on Barrett. I mean, like a Kavanaugh situation.
No devil's triangle.
Dude, who with 7 kids has time to like rip beers, like grope people, and do questionable shit? Like, she didn't have time to do that.
Well, the one possible thing there is maybe they'll like tie her to some weird Catholic something. I mean, who knows?
Well, they've already said she's on some like prayer group that's similar to The Handmaid's Tale.
Do you think that they'll find her high school yearbook? She was wearing like a Tommy Hilfiger shirt and be like, did you know that Tommy Hilfiger said racially insensitive things? Like, you're a racist.
Well, I think even if they do find something like that,
that is too dumb.
Making that attack so close to the election is going to hurt them more than it help them. And I think they realize that. That's why I think it's go on Affordable Care Act attack only. And then,
all right.
And then, you're disrespecting the great Ginsburg. That'll be the other attack.
Here's why I don't take it for granted, though, that they'll get it through before November 3rd. I mean, I think the main lines of attack on her are going to be, like you said, Obamacare, number one. I think, as we talked about, abortion, I think the politics of this play terribly for Republicans. I do think that the, Zoltar, I maybe disagree here a little bit. I think the line of attack on her Catholicism actually may not be a bad strategy, in the sense that we sort of forget that Catholics are only about 20% of the American population. Of this 20%, people who are devout to the degree Coney Barrett is are a relatively small minority of that. And if you look just in the last few years, the number of Americans who are secular, not religious, atheist, or generally just not really believing is actually quite high. And I think they're an underrepresented population in Washington. So there is some room here. Yeah, and so I think that, to me, the reason why it's not a lock that this will happen for November 3rd is, if you look at the amount of money Act Blue and other Democratic groups are raising, I mean, I think they're going to have a huge money advantage, which I think is going to potentially make it difficult for Joni Ernst and Cornyn to want to vote on this before the election. I think they will vote to confirm her, but I don't see why they would want to vote on this.
Well, that's important because the rules on that market doesn't say she has to win the vote; just says the vote has to start. So even if Romney gets flipped or some other Republican turncoats appear, it still is going to resolve for yes. All you need is that vote to happen. And right now they've scheduled it for the 15th of October. So Pratik,
the first hearing.
Yeah. So what would be a scenario where that starts on the 15th of October and isn't over by November 3rd?
I think the scenario would be that you already have 2 Republicans who don't want it to happen before the election, Murkowski and Collins. And I think if you see Democratic money just pouring into Iowa and Texas, and you now have a very close race, and the polling is showing that voters in these places are not enthused by the pick and the process, I have to think that if Cornyn and Ernst are saying that they don't want to vote on this until after the election, and that it would hurt them
John
in the
Cornyn's
re-election,
the majority whip.
Yeah, I mean, what would it cost McConnell to have the vote in the lame duck session and just say that we need more time or whatever?
I think that would hurt him.
So you make 2 good points. So one of them is, I will say, full disclosure, I am not holding no's on this happening before the election. I am holding some cheap yeses that we kind of bought together while we were scheming on the vote happening in the lame duck or after inauguration, because it does seem like there is a very recognizable pattern of things going awry and high profile confirmations. But the read that I have right now today on this Supreme Court process is, the Republicans have decided that this is like their Obamacare. They're like, you know what? We're probably going to lose this election. We might lose the next 10 elections, but the price that we will pay to create effectively like a conservative rear guard against liberal excess and indulgence, speaking from Republican senator mind, by putting this person on the court is worth it. That their legacy, this is like a legacy thing. And if they have to lose the majority for 10 years, then like that's the cost. And they'll just go down with the shit.
I got 2 factors to throw into the mix. First one is, I do agree with Pratik that, the Catholic community in the United States is shrinking, But what I don't, something I'd add to that though, is even if you're not Catholic, seeing someone attacked because of their religious beliefs, I think like a Jewish person would find that offensive, a Mormon person would find that offensive.
And there's a lot of overlap between Catholics and Baptists.
Yeah,
and,
I would consider it offensive if they attack someone for their Jewish faith who's running for or trying to become Supreme Court justice. So I think that would still hurt the Democrats more than it would help them. And then also Trump is expecting the vote to go to the Supreme Court. He's going to have a bunch of legal challenges. He's already got a bunch of legal challenges. He's appealing all of them. And he wants to have that judge in there to break the tie, if there is one, so that he wins those Supreme Court challenges. So I think there's even more of a reason for them to get this done before the election.
There's another factor here, and I haven't actually seen a lot of commentary on this, but everyone's focusing on the impact of the pick on the Senate elections that are up in November. I actually think, with the exception, as I said, of Cornyn and Ernst, a lot of these are not going to be affected. Like, I think Collins has already staked out a position. I think Lindsey Graham has to go all in here. I think Cory Gardner is already done. Oh, yeah. I mean, I have no's on him at 24. They're already now in the 30s. I think this is going to be close. But the point I was going to make is, I actually think, if you think about it, the senators that have the most to lose actually are the Republicans who are going to be up in 2022. Because
because they're not already fucked. Like, all these other people are already dead. Like, what do they care? They know they're losing.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, in my view, Trump in all likelihood is not going to be around, but voters aren't going to forget the way they handled this. And you're looking
ask
here
Susan Collins about that.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at Rubio in Florida, Toomey in Pennsylvania, and Portman in Ohio. I actually think of these, Portman may be another wild card here. Who may want to show that he's a statesman.
I've been saying that, and so have a lot of the people in the news. And it was such a. I remember it was a big shocker when Portman came out supporting it. I was like, oh shit, this is like, King Dog was wrong. This is going to be a party line vote. You know, he's like, I feel like he's the flag holder for those people.
But to be clear, Portman simply said he's ready to entertain and vet the nominee. I don't think he's.
So did Romney. Yeah.
Right. So I think they want to vote for her, but I just, if it looks like the politics are very bad, I don't know what it would cost them to delay the vote until after November 3rd.
Yeah. But okay, I disagree with you a little bit. The presidency is about to change. Regardless, like, Zoltar is about to tell me it's not. The president, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, are about to be in the White House, and that's like rolling over into a new century or something like that. So, like, people will remember how they did it, but remember, there's going to be a huge gulf of air that needs to be filled when Trump's gone, and so there's I just think we're going to be talking about different stuff in 2 years too. Like, I wouldn't wait it that much.
Yeah, but okay, there's another factor here. I don't know if it's pertinent in your thinking, but the Georgia special Senate race will not be done either.
When is that?
Some people are. So it'll be on November 3rd, but then unless someone gets 50%, it'll go to a runoff. So that's another. I don't actually think that the Democrats are going to be competitive here. I think some people in the markets think that. Look, I guess where I am, if we want to get down to the betting of it, is I think
let's do that.
I'm trying to buy in the market for the closest Senate race. I think that Iowa and Texas are underpriced here. I think that the money that's going to come as a consequence of the Supreme Court will make these closer than they should be. I'm trying to look up.
Iowa's been a very milkable cow in that market for a while. It's like these really boring ones that are sometimes the most profitable. You want to talk about who's going to be on the Supreme Court, but if you're looking at the markets 2 or 3 steps removed, that's where you can make the money.
Yeah, so actually, Texas in particular, I think, is a good deal. You can get it at 4%. So I'm trying to get in there. I don't know. I mean, if you look at the election timing market, the market seemed to be pretty confident this is going to happen before November 3rd. It's at 86 right now, November 3rd at 9%, and January 20th or later is at 3%. So I'm tempted by the November 3rd and the January 20th markets.
Who would have thought that the ballsiest person on this podcast is the one who sounds the smartest? Do we want to wait? Hold on. Remix. Pratik, we should be saying thank you to you right now. You came on this podcast. What was it? Yeah. Like, thank you for the money, Pratik. What was it? 2 or 3 weeks ago, you came on this podcast saying you had a hack for how to make a ton of money on what cabinet secretary was going to leave next. Can you show me the money?
Yeah, I recommended in the next cabinet market out to buy Carson. At the time, I recommended that he was at 2%. It actually dipped a little bit to 1% after that, and then it shot up to 10%. And now it is actually it sort of went down a little bit. It went up to 10% a second time, and it is now trading at 5%. So
is there some whale at HUD like listening in on Ben Carson's phone calls? Like, oh, he's getting kind of bored. He's going to leave. Like, what? I don't even understand. How's that even happen?
I think what caused it is that Carson was giving some kind of public remarks somewhere, and he had notes, and some reporter got a hold of them, and the notes basically said like Carson was gonna complain, I guess, to a reporter or to Trump about the way White House personnel is handling HUD. So anyway, I mean, I don't actually think that
we should get the boys doing some paparazzi, because it seems like every time there's a telephoto lens of someone's notepad, the markets just go crazy. That's a good idea. Let's get an internship posting for Star Spangled Gamblers paparazzi role, because we can really manipulate some markets in like a savage way if we do that.
If your notes are exposed to the press, they will zoom in and take a photo of them.
Let's do a deep fake. Let's also do a deep fake of an important politician and just put some notes on it that are our betting positions. Do you think that that's on Upwork?
I think that'll work.
All right, Upwork, we're coming to you. Deep fake 2020. Well, Pratik, thank you for the money. I don't know. Do we need to like yin and yang that? Do we need to?
Well done,
do we need and maybe read some hate mail about Zoltar?
Yeah, let's get some of that over.
Okay. Blitz, the tweet god. Those who trusted in Zoltar, BTFO again.
Blown the fuck out.
Like a literal feral dog.
You were blown the fuck out like a feral dog.
The internet can be so cruel.
J Mark. R.I.P. Zolt Army. Thank you for the capital N-O shares. He had another one, actually. He said, I care about your well-being the way I care about my autistic brother's well-being. I'm on your side.
Rain Man. Thank you.
Johnny C-Note said, Zoltar, man, seemed super red-pilled on the last pod and seems to have totally biffed the Lagoa pick. Have you checked in? Is he okay? I just want to make sure he's not in a cave somewhere doing Talmudic readings of QAnon drops and flexing massive underdog positions on Betfair.
Yikes.
And then Clark Peters. I will say I've made some bad trades, but none are as bad as buying Lagoa. That's a Galaxy Brain type trade by Zoltar. Should probably have his SSG appearances reduced because of it.
Wow. Well, heavy as a crown, gentlemen. Heavy as a crown. And like I posted in response to I think it was Blitzkrieg. Babe Ruth once said the reason he was able to hit so many home runs is because he was not afraid to strike out many times. This was, like I said before, this was definitely a strikeout. But I stand by my analysis. It was a nomination pick. That's not going to be a guaranteed win. I think it was a good bet, but my mistake was not bailing as soon as the Lagoa meeting got canceled.
So,
especially when it was in Miami. If you have a meeting in Miami with a judge from Miami and you cancel it, it's not going to happen. I should have bailed at that point. If I had it was at 20 cents, you would have lost half your bet.
So huge. We're huge advocates for democracy. And one of the things about democracy, Zoltar, Pratik will know what I'm talking about because he worked at, did you work at DOD or did you just work at the State Department, Pratik?
State Department.
So Pratik is intimately aware of something that's called civilian control, which I think is shorthand from civilians control the military. The president is the commander in chief, not the general. And Zoltar, as the general of the Zolt army,
Yes.
And me, Keen Dog, as the president of the Republic of Star Spangled Gamblers, which, we are founding officers of, I'm demoting you. As of this podcast, you are no longer the general of the Zoltar Army. You are the colonel.
How dare
You're a
you,
colonel.
sir. How dare you.
So you've been demoted. Now,
Well, it's clear that I have to reestablish my street credit. And like I said, I uncovered a gem this last week. It's going to be part of the Battleground State podcast.
so are we talking about performance metrics right now to get you promoted back to a general of the Zoltar Army?
I'm just saying, to redeem myself, I will do a Carolina Reaper challenge next week. And it's on an underdog pick that I am very confident will win.
Wait, why can't we do it this week?
Because it's part of the Battleground podcast. It's one of many gems I've uncovered during my research.
Oh my God. Now I've got the colonel of the Zoltar Army telling me, the president, what podcast we're doing when. Zoltar, you are about to be a major.
You son of a bitch.
We love Zoltar here. All right. Well, you guys, maybe you can tweet us at Star Spangled Gamblers about how we think Zoltar can get back his general star after this defeat that stung for all of us.
I reject the premise of that allegation.
He's about to go rogue. What else we got this week? We've got our first debate coming up.
Ooh, that's going to be fun. Big ratings.
I think we need to give the boys like a debate specific pod and blog, don't we?
Well, I would agree with you if they had any debate related markets, but as far as I can tell, the only debate market is if Biden's going to drop out. But
what odds are you taking on that?
Well, right now that one's like 90 cents that he won't, and I think that's pretty good. But it was funny. Trump did tweet today that he's demanding a drug test for Biden before the debate because he thinks he's on PEDs.
The markets think 13% chance that Biden will drop out
By November
1st. Yeah,
that might be the single dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, I don't see any scenario where that happens. That's a free 10%.
Wait, so I don't know if you guys have been noticing, but we've been like looking around off of Predicted for places to bet, and also like sort of begging some of these crypto exchanges that ordinarily kind of creep us out to post lines. But I have been seeing some good lines at mybookie.ag, which I think is highly illegal. Zoltar,
be
you're my
careful
lawyer.
with that one. There, I went down that road allegedly, and they have limits on how much
Allegedly.
you bet. I think it's like a $40 limit. So that's just like the bait that they throw out there for political gamblers, hoping that you're also a sports junkie like myself, and that's how they get you in. And then you find out it's a $40 max bet.
But they have some interesting mention markets, which I don't think we should attack on this podcast. But you can get. Let's see, what is it? Will Donald Trump say Sleepy Joe? Yes, plus 120. That's an interesting question.
Well, we've gone through this route before, and the general rule is that Trump is not as braggadouche and silly as he is in his tweets when he's doing debates. So
no, I disagree.
Joe.
He's very down the middle when he has prepared remarks. But I'm in it.
The news reports are saying that he's not preparing at all for the debate.
That's what he
not
said last
surprising.
election.
When I was on the campaign, though, I had it on pretty good record that he did not prepare for those debates either. Not for the first one, anyway.
Yeah, well, there's a way
doing all these rallies is kind of a way to prepare because he's talking about all the issues during those rallies.
Well, there's a long tradition of presidents getting absolutely smacked down in their first debate too. I mean, who remembers? I feel like everyone left of Center in America like wet the bed the night after Mitt Romney dunked on Barack Obama in the first debate.
Did he?
And George W. Bush lost pretty badly the first one in 2004.
Yeah, no, that's just like a way.
By the way, I think that's why Biden's been doing the lid on all these pressers because he's been doing debate prep the last like 2 weeks.
Do you think that he's on the same medical regimen that like movie stars who are super old and have like Parkinson's or dementia or something like that? That
was a question I had. What Trump is saying, I want him tested for drugs before the debate. What drugs do you take to make you a better debater?
Well, but like when you get old, by the way, you
think he's on boom boom?
I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist here. I'm really just like talking because I feel like this stuff sort of matters on some level. Like like we're young enough that most of our days are good days, but like when you get older, like maybe you have a couple good days a week, and then when you get really old, like maybe you have a couple good days a month. So it's like Joe Biden in like fully is his campaign fully treating him like you would treat your baby, where you like know you're gonna have a couple hours where it's not gonna be crying, so you have to like back up the entire schedule for that couple hour long window that you need on like Thursday or Friday?
I think they realize this is high stakes. And if you remember that, what was that book on Sarah Palin and how she was a complete shit show?
Game changer.
Yeah. So remember how they were trying to get her ready for the debates by like teaching her where Europe was?
I think, like how to do math and shit like that.
Yeah, I don't think it's that bad, but I think they're doing similar prep with Biden about, listen, don't go off scripts. I know you like to. You can't do this. You can't do that. Don't make any jokes about this. And I think that's their biggest fear, that he just goes off script and says something stupid.
I will say, for what it's worth, I mean, I think Biden has been remarkably disciplined, and you saw it with the Supreme Court situation. I mean, he sort of basically sent a message that they're not going to do court packing. He's trying to focus the line of attack on Obamacare, and he refused to take the bait about releasing his own list of judicial nominees. And even recently, with the whole thing about Trump not accepting the outcome of the elections, Biden kind of downplayed that, said, "Oh, don't take it too seriously." So for a politician who has been just a total gaffe machine for his entire career, he's actually doing pretty well.
He's definitely, he's like when you see an old professional athlete like Tom Brady in his 40s, he's like, no, Joe Biden does not have the biggest arm anymore, but he's got like the best game brain. Like he just knows how to like call the right play, like read the defense the right way, and just like not get like freaked out.
And don't forget, he's done these gaffes during interviews and campaign rallies. When he did the debate against Bernie, he kicked ass. I mean, he did a great job, and I think it's going to be similar for this. I don't expect him to, lose his train of thought or say something that's really inappropriate. I think he's going to be the same way he was during the Bernie debate, which is very polished and reserved.
I'm going to max out right now on Joe Biden dropping out before November 1st. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah, that's just free money.
Yeah, let's buy a lot of that shit. Oh, I'm like, I don't know about you guys, but I'm running really short on cash.
Oh yeah, I gotta throw some in, especially after that loss I just took. What's the price at now for Biden dropping out?
It's 88.12.
What?
Like
12 cents?
Yeah,
that's a pretty good return for 1 month.
Yeah, take that. Is there anything else going on, boys? We've done our little debate sneak preview here. We're begging, clap back at us about some of the mention marks you want to see. I'm going to go on like a savage campaign of trying to manipulate. Or if you have any like
random website you can do bets on that's not predicted, let us know, because I don't want to.
We're going to do a podcast of only non-predicted bets, because predicted's garbage, and that's all Pratik's fault. So just like clap back at us with any ideas you have for markets, and I'm going to make it a point to sort of stalk some of these people and maybe some of these like terrorist entities that sponsor these offshore books, and see if we can get some stuff that we actually want to bet on.
Oh yeah.
Zoltar, you're my lawyer. You can tell me if I'm going to go to jail for that, though.
It's illegal, but no one's been prosecuted except the people who are hosting the bets.
That's a bad start.
I did watch a movie recently that Zoltar recommended.
Which one?
What was it called?
Rounders.
Oh,
that's a great one.
That's magic. So who do you identify?
Did you see the who's the guy who was the conservative bettor?
Joey Knish.
Yeah.
Did you see the comparison I made?
Yeah.
Are we calling Pratik Joey Knish? I'm not sure Pratik is Joey Knish.
He used to be. Now he's kind of breaking the mold. He's getting a little bit of Matt Damon in him.
Yo, Pratik's full on Matt Damon. Pratik takes big risks.
I'm John Malkovich. Splashing the chips.
You are not Teddy KGB. You're Edward Norton.
Watch your tongue. I don't like your tone today, sir.
You're Edward Norton.
You know what? That's actually a better comparison of the guy who gets you arrested and beat up.
No, I don't even know.
Well, I did a deep dive on the war games. Did any of you guys look at those?
No.
Pratik, did you check that out?
No, I didn't.
Okay, well, do you guys know what the war games were?
No, I don't even know what you're talking about.
Jesus Christ. So, like a couple weeks ago, the Democrats, like high-level Democrat, Podesta, Clinton, all these big
Jeffrey
ballers,
Epstein's friends,
they met in a hotel and they war gamed out all these potential scenarios for the transition after an election. Like if it's a close election if Biden has a huge lead, if Trump wins the electoral but not the popular vote, and all the scenarios and ways you could respond, and they actually gameplay them out to see how what would happen. And I looked at the report, and the report's got a whole bunch of gems for markets you can bet on.
So maybe we can give that to the boys in a blog post.
I could, or I could tell you guys right now.
Yeah, spit it. But we're going to blog this too. This sounds like a gold mine.
Oh yeah, if you haven't read the report, read the report. So the first thing I got to say is a couple weeks ago I talked about how I was eyeballing the when the election results come out market. I still am confident that it's not going to be November 3rd, but I think there's a chance it could be November 4th. So if you have those November 4th, I would sell them, and I'd buy no on the rest of the markets, but not huge, because the best way to play this is to watch the election as it happens and bet when the announcement's going to come out. But first, there's a rule cuck situation I got to warn everyone about. The market says winner is when CNN and Fox both project the same winner. Now, I was wondering what happens if CNN says projected winner Biden pending count of the mail-in votes or pending results of this this lawsuit.
This is when you're at your best. This is Zoltar at his best.
So there's a chance that, or I think there's a very good chance that one or both parties files multiple lawsuits the day of the election. You know, these ballots are confusing. These mail-in things shouldn't be counted. And they'll file lawsuits that day. If they do, let's say Trump has the lead early from the in-person votes. CNN might say Trump projected winner pending mail-in votes, pending lawsuits. I don't think there's any chance they're going to declare it for Trump. If it's Biden, I think there's a chance they throw an asterisk in there. So I actually predict it for clarification, and they didn't do a gray box. So I think what that means is it doesn't count unless it's a projection without an asterisk. That's going to be my 3D chess play. I think that there's going to be a cabal pump on this. You know, it's a projected winner, you know, with the asterisk. I don't think it's going to count that. I think that it's got to be a projected winner with no caveat. So
I hear the rules cook panther sharpening its claws.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So then, is your scenario contingent, though, on the election being reasonably close?
Yes, and they talk about this in the war games. There's basically, they say the legal challenges have nothing to do with the actual validity of the lawsuits. It's only if the lawsuits affect number of votes that would change the outcome, potentially change the outcome of the election. So, one county has
this is still my nightmare situation that it's just a blowout election, and like the cockamamie is just
if you see a lawsuit
massive.
Because there's voter intimidation at one county, like that's not going to change the election. But if you see a lawsuit that these mail-in votes shouldn't count, that these signature matching requirements aren't reliable, which by the way I think is inevitable. I think you're 100% going to see Trump challenge the signature matching of the mail-in votes, because the bottom line is the mail-in votes are going to be heavy Democratic. The in-person votes are going to be heavy Republican. So both sides are going to attack the other side.
We're going to have voter suppression at the polls by Democrats. Close the polls. The coronavirus is too safe.
Yeah, and then Trump's
going to be a topsy-turvy election.
You can't count these mail-in votes.
That's what Republicans are supposed to do.
The signature matching requirement is just too subjective. Every way you can attack, and there's teams of lawyers on both sides, and all they're doing is thinking of creative ways to attack the mail-in votes or the in-person votes. So it's going to happen. So expect that. The other thing is that earlier I had talked about Trump pardoning himself. In these Democratic war games, every scenario, close election, blowout election, big Biden win, small Biden win, every scenario involves Trump pardoning himself. They all said it's going to happen. And what's even more interesting is the one scenario where they said if Trump squeaks out a win in the electoral college but loses the popular vote, they are going to still argue that the election shouldn't be valid. So they're going to contest the election if it's only on an electoral college basis, saying the popular vote should count, which I thought was interesting. Even that scenario, they plan on filing lawsuits.
I'm too deep in this rabbit hole right now, and it just depresses me. Yeah. Need some boom boom, dude. All right, well, Zoltar, let's get that out to the boys.
Look for pardons, and look for it not happening on November 3rd. The states with governors that are Democratic, they are totally going to use them for their benefit, according to these war games. So expect any state that has a governor who's a Democratic governor, don't bet Trump winning that state because they're going to pull some shenanigans. They're going to encourage protests and violence as a way to gain leverage. And they even said this.
Wait, they wrote that in writing, or you were saying that?
They did. Yeah, they talk about how they have to. They didn't say.
I got to see this thing.
They said we got to encourage massive protests. Millions of people in the streets to get leverage in negotiations. And they even said this. The most telling part for the pardon market was they want to negotiate concession. One of the negotiating points they're going to use is we're going after you for crimes you did while in office, before in office. But if you concede and say Biden won, we won't go after you. So that's even more of a reason to think pardon market. And then the other wrinkle to the pardon market is the one where Trump resigns so that Pence can become vice president, because legally people think it's easier for the president to pardon Trump if it's Vice President Pence becoming the president. There's some legal questions on if Trump can pardon himself. So to avoid that argument, they think he'll resign, have Pence become president, and then have Pence pardon him. Anyway,
so
if you think Biden's going to win, you should definitely buy Trump self-pardon and Trump resign markets.
I disagree pretty strongly on that. I mean, right now, will Trump pardon himself is trading at 16%. I think that's way too high to be buying, even if you accept all of these. And I mean, the other thing too, I think if he is going to go down the pardon route, I think he would want to have Pence do it. And I mean, I'm looking at the odds here on completing his term.
What's the odds of him resigning?
So 89% that Trump will complete his term, but 14% that he'll pardon himself. So I think if you want to play around with the pardon scenario, I would say maybe buy 11 cents on the completion, but even that strikes me as being too high of a price to pay.
What'd you say it was at?
So will Trump complete first term? Right now trading at 89%. So
that's 11 cents for him resigning.
Yeah, and for pardon himself at 16%. I think both of these are too high. I think it's more likely that he would resign and have Pence do it, but then you have to figure, would Pence be willing to take that offer?
I mean, his balls have been in a mason jar, like somewhere in the basement of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue for 4 years. I don't know. Maybe if he says no, they'll make like a Oscar movie about it.
In the war games, they flat out say they plan on using prosecution of him as a negotiating tactic to get him to concede.
All right. We badly need to get our hands on this document. So Zoltar, the first step in you becoming the general of the Zoltar army again is getting
the name of the
document out there.
Is protecting a disrupted presidential election and transition. Look for the PDF file on Google. They're all over the place.
It's like war plan number 17.
It's very interesting. And as the election comes out, you can see, okay, this looks like it's a close one. This looks like a Biden blowout. And check the war game scenario they plan on doing in that situation. And you can get some gems on what to bet on.
For the record, I continue to think buy yes on November 3rd. I think we're headed toward a Biden blowout, and I think that'll rise on the eve of the election.
So there you have it. We've once again staked our claims to this election. Got a little debate, sneak peek, and
Zoltar's pick for this week is that the Supreme Court nomination vote will happen before November 3rd. Next week, I'm going to start dropping these battleground state gems I've found, including one that I consider to be a Zoltar lock Carolina Reaper pick. And if I lose, I will eat a Carolina Reaper after that pod.
And it's like I don't know what to cheer for in that scenario because both outcomes are so entertaining.
It's paying my pittance or paying my respects for the loss I just gave all the Zoltar army and redeeming myself, get my street credit back.
All right. Well, that's what you got, guys. This is Star Spangled Gamblers. I'm Keen Dog. I'm your host. If you're still with us, I think it means you like us. I think it means that you want a second date or maybe even a third or fourth.
Especially with me, they like hating me based on this week's Twitter response.
100%. So if you're still with us, log on to our website, www.starspangledgamblers.com/support. That's where you can find out new creative and innovative ways to support us, whether financially or with your talents as a picker or a writer or perhaps an editor. Please check the blog. We're posting regularly, starspangledgamblers.com/support. Pratik, you want to say goodbye?
Can I read one more Zoltar hate?
Yes.
Okay, but then we're cutting it. We're gonna end this episode on one piece of Zoltar hate mail.
Note.
And Zoltar, you can respond to it when you get your general star back.
All right, General Star.
This is
You're not
motivation.
in charge of the Zoltar army.
Pratik.
Conflict of the orders. Zoltar is not truth teller. He doesn't even see the truth that he's manipulated, triggered by the ruling class's perpetration of propaganda.
Sounds like QAnon guy.
Who's this from?
Conflict of the orders.
All right. Well, you have the last word, conflict of the orders. This is Star Spangled Gamblers.
Oh, and thank you to
friends.
Scorpio Jeremy, who gave me
Good night.
three Korean baseball sporting bet picks that came in correct.
And don't eat pot cookies. All right.
Don't
That's
eat
it,
pot
guys. See ya.